Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's me here, Sam. As you can see, we're in the office again, but we have completely changed the view because we have added a new computer desk. So yes, and you can see the new screen there, which is I just look like a ghost anyway. But yeah. So, welcome to the show, everybody. This is our second one with a guest, so hopefully everybody will enjoy, and shortly I shall, of course, get calling and the guests in like I do normally do. So if anybody is listening, well, not listening, watching, shall I say, please feel free to share it. We don't push anybody to share it or anything like that. So, with further ado, and the TV's gone off. The TV's already gone off. The TV's already gone off.
It was always going to happen. It was always going to happen.
I haven't even got the controls, so.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We can sort that out. So yeah, how are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
A little bit warm, but we're getting there. It's typical, not typical, kind of weird UK weather, but yeah. It's a bit sticky. It's a bit warm, so I do apologise if you do hear any noises in the background. I've got the door open, so you might hear the odd train or car or kid running around. So, which aren't mine, but they're just background noise that could potentially. So yeah, looking forward to tonight's show. As you can probably see on the screen, we've got two lovely people sitting there waiting for us to introduce them. It's our good friends all the way from America, and that is Victor and Lynda. How are you doing, guys?
Hello. We're doing well. Thank you.
Lovely to see you again, and hi, and we'll be posting questions at the bottom of the screen, so if you can read the bottom of the screens, if there's any questions, they'll appear from the chat room. So just to let everybody know, there is the chat room. Just click on the links, click on the speech bubble, and you can ask any questions you like. Sorry, Sam?
It's not a show, so just go onto the Facebook Live and the chat. You should be able to comment.
I lose track on which platform we're using.
Yeah, I did.
Are we doing radio? Are we doing
this?
Are we doing that? I lose track of which way we're doing it. I'm sorry, I'm old. I lose track on what's going on. I'm glad you're in control, Sam. You're in mission control in the studio, which is good. Hi, Tiffany. So, how are you guys doing? How is the good old US of A at the moment?
Wow. Well, we're doing well. We're doing well in considering the whole sequestering. But we've made do, and we've had fun. And right now we are in the UK in our own bedroom. How could you? What more could you ask for?
Absolutely.
So we traveled. You see, that's why I got my fancy hat on. And the glasses, in case anyone's explained, no, actually there's a big bright light behind, so it's like blinding me. So I had to put my glasses on. But we're well. We're doing good, keeping busy, and having a wonderful afternoon with you guys.
Sure. Yes. And I must admit, I do have to compliment you on your bowler hat that you're wearing.
Thank you.
Very, very English and very, very cool. And I've gone the other way. I'm wearing Area 51, so we've sort of role reversed.
There you go.
And how are you doing, Lynda?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. All is good. Just doing the good old quarantine. Staying in our little bubble world, but. Can't complain. Everyone's doing good over here in the good old USA, and I feel like I'm taking a trip right now to England. You're in our living room, we're in your living room. So
there you go. Here we go. It's now that would be the best possible way of traveling if you could just literally turn up like that. Instead of airports, planes, and all. I love flying, and I miss it deeply.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah, but it could be like a Star Trek, like beam me up, Scotty, and then just get beamed up and be right there like Pearl. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure there's somebody out there in a secret lab that nobody's ever heard of, wearing a white coat, doing exactly that, beaming things around and moving things around like that. So in another 20, 30, 40 years, you never know, it could become the norm. So just for our listeners, and if they've missed you on previous shows, do you want to just give us a quick overview of who you guys are and what do you do basically?
Sure. Oh, I got to go first. Well, we are, paranormal investigators. Also, we are now podcasters, and Victor's a writer. And
I think we're a jack of all trades, if you will, just to say the least. We started out, we weren't investigators, so to speak. And I mean, we've been involved in things of the unknown for years, pretty much, as many do know, since the day we were born, pretty much, because it's our culture. It's something that we were just kind of brought into and brought up with, as well with many other cultures around. We, started finding odd things and became curious and delved into it a bit deeper. And it wasn't until many years later that we became investigators. And I like the term explorers, because that's pretty cool, because I love history, and but of course we go in and we've investigated, and as Lynn said, now we're podcasters. So who would have thought that would happen? And to myself, I'm an author. I've written 2 books, and I have more on the way, in which I'm working on now. So you have author, investigator, explorer, all of these, jack of all trades. And of course, a lot of those know that we've done several documentaries for Texas State, and also for UTEP in Texas. Whatchamacallit? What's the word I'm looking for? For psychics, mediums, and those sorts of things. And so we investigate, and we help people and understand the whole scope of the paranormal. Well, as much to the best of our knowledge, because we know it grows and it continues to grow, and you got to be open to that. And so, yeah,
you're always learning something new. I mean, it's something that you learn, and we're now become known for the seance room. That's now what we're really known for, and for Victor's books that he's been writing and continue to write. So I mean, we've been everywhere as far as coming into the paranormal. I know we've talked in our past shows with y'all that we've pretty much it wasn't something that we said, hey, let's be paranormal investigators. That's not really, I don't really consider myself as a paranormal investigator. I'm more curious about it. Always have been.
But
I have investigated, and that's how we got. That's how we got. But I guess for me, it's always hard to say a paranormal investigator, because I always feel like it's supposed to be like a professional term, and I feel like there is no profession to it. I think it's something that we're all learning and evolving in the paranormal world, and so for me, it's always kind of hard to just say that, even though we've done a lot of investigations.
Sometimes you just have to own it. You're an investigator. You're an investigator, right? So.
Absolutely. This is the thing with the industry that we're in. There are so many people use so many different terms for what they do: paranormal researcher, paranormal investigator, ghost hunter. They're just literally there's loads of different names. And it's just kind of strange which ones that you sort of fall into using. I know I use a particular one. You guys use different, like the same one. Other people use that, and it's just one of those things where you sort of manipulate into what you perceive yourself to be.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And I think that's a good thing about the industry, is that like there's loads of people that call themselves ghost hunters. I kind of stay away from the ghost hunter sound because I'm not hunting ghosts.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I have questions and I want answers. So I'm more the investigator or the researcher, though that paranormal researcher or investigator. I think
Yeah.
that sort of fits with me because I've got more questions than I have answers, and that's what keeps me in the field. And I know you guys, as we've discussed before, are exactly the same.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
exactly the same. I mean, it's I've always talked about this, and I always share this moment of how I became because of my aunt and my mom. You know, family always we share folklore stories. We did ghost hunting without even knowing it was ghost hunting at the time. You know, they would tell you the ghost stories, take you out on the country roads where I came from, and it piqued our interest because you're like, okay, what's really out there? I mean, why are these stories out there? And there were things that we saw that were the unexplainable. And as growing up, there was a lot of unexplainable things that I saw or experienced that I this is why I'm in the paranormal field, because I want questions and answers. And also I like that I've started learning a lot more about history. Like I really feel like history's become very important with
Yeah,
the
history.
paranormal.
Yeah, paranormal history is, or even just history in general.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
I think that can be one of the mistakes when people come into the field. They see the pop culture, paranormal pop culture on the TV, and they get straight into that. So they think they got a black shirt and a hat, nice shiny silver case, and they're the next ghost hunters. But you've got to know where you come from and where they've come from, and
Yeah.
I think that's always been a key for me personally is knowledge,
You know what?
research.
I love that statement because I definitely agree with that. And it's coming out of the mold that pop culture has put out there. It's not coming from the same cookie cutter. You know, when you can identify who you are in this field, I believe you become more progressive in it and you become more open to the things around you versus staying or following what's happening or, you know, that sort of deal. And like the whole, too uniformed thing. I mean, and I'm not knocking it. If that's what you want to do it. But to me, it's we're not from the same cookie cutter, you know, not the same mold, and I like that, you know. And also, if I may add to Linda's comment, growing up in a culture that had folklore, you know, down in South Texas, from where we're from, there's so much of it. You know, there's so much of it. It's very close to New Orleans, you know, in terms of the combination of religions that come together and the activity that takes place. And so is the same for South Texas. And a lot of these folklore stories, when you do your research and history to these places and incidences, you will find that there is a definite connection to a real happening. But it's not as interesting sometimes, you know, when you go down the end of the road, you're like, oh, but they said this or this was said. But when you get down to the meat of it all, then you have a clearer understanding of why that folklore became. And you're like, oh, I understand. So yeah, I agree with that statement. That's just wanted to add that. That's pretty interesting.
No. I completely agree. And you mentioned New Orleans area because I know that's a place that you have a significant amount of passion for and that you're drawn to.
Yes.
Just to say, and I've got to work this out. That way is that little thing there is my little friend that I built with the help of Bloody Mary in New Orleans.
Let's see.
And it is my voodoo doll made from the grass and the bindings and everything from the famous park in New Orleans. And it was blessed and
Yes. Absolutely. That's awesome. That's incredibly awesome.
Yeah.
Our ties to New Orleans is a great love for the city, for the history, for the people, and our dear friends and family that are there.
Yeah.
We're
must admit,
we're missing New Orleans and not being able to go at this moment. Yeah, that's our home away from home. So
I must admit, obviously, the trip that I had in February was my first time there, and it was amazing. The place, the culture, but I think the biggest thing that I was, because I love coming to America anyway. I'm a big fan of America anyway, and it's killing me inside that I can't get on a plane and go over to America. Because this weekend I should have been at Michigan. Should have been in Michigan. But obviously that went out the window, and obviously then there's other events that I had that have been cancelled, but everything's been rolled over next year. But I think the moment you land at Louis Armstrong Airport and you walk out and you meet the cab driver, the Lyft, the Uber guy, you get that complete and utter mentality of the people. Absolutely. They are so friendly. They'll bend over backwards for you. They will do anything that you want, and that is something that I loved about the culture. And just wandering around Bourbon Street, very early doors, and seeing the buildings. And obviously Bourbon Street in that area in the French Quarter is kind of known for what it's known for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I did participate in that in several times. But it was just the culture. You just look at the buildings and look at the history and look at some of the buildings, particularly if you know the history of some of these buildings. And it's amazing. And I can see why you guys love New Orleans.
Yes. Oh my God.
And it's funny. I think New Orleans has stamped you, because usually folks just it's New Orleans either calls you or it doesn't, and you either get it or you don't. And when you have that passion and that love for the city, I know when Victor and I first stepped into New Orleans, that was the same way we felt.
It truly is. Not to be cliche, but it is a magical city. It is something that once you do step onto the grounds, as you said, it just absorbs your every fiber and being, because it just like everything just turns on, and so because there's so much there, so much has happened, and so much is there, and even just putting your hand, I've done this plenty of times when I'm there for whatever reason. I'll be walking and I'll see a wall, and I'll just lay my hands just on the brick wall of an old building, and you just kind of feel that vibration kind of just run through your DNA. That's the feeling I get each time I'm there. So it's definitely a heavily spiritual as well as a deep connection there. And the same goes for South Texas as well, San Antonio, Texas. There's lots and lots of deep history there. It deals. It's very. If you put it on a scale, it's like like this. It's kind of balanced, because there's so much there that a lot of folks still don't know about. So yeah.
Well, coming from the South Texas area, there's so much culture and folklore. It's just the same, and I think this is why we fell in love with New Orleans, because it was so much the same that I guess we didn't realize. The only difference is New Orleans has kept the history. They've kept that time. They kept it preserved. And so when you walk in New Orleans, you totally forget that you're in America. It's like New Orleans is its own place. And I think, and I think that's why you fall in love with New Orleans. And, Texas has some sites like that, but I wish they would have preserved a lot more, because I know that there was a lot that we had as well.
Well, when you consider it, it's more like you have New Orleans, and then you have Texas, and all of the stuff is scattered. Like specifically going deeper south of Texas, it's scattered, so it's just larger. You just have to travel further out, kind of, but they're all connected still. The Mission, the Alamo, a lot of the stuff where a lot of the curanderismo practices and the Santeria practices are at. And so there's a lot of those kinds of things, that are very now open, compared to what it used to be. It was always there, but it was very taboo. But now it's a bit more open and out in the public, and the culture is more embraced.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like Texas. I've been to Dallas. I've been to San Antonio. I've been to Houston. So Texas, I like Texas. So it's a beautiful state. We've just got a couple of questions that we've been asked in the chat room. So just bear with me for 2 seconds while Tiffany would like to know what are the names of your books, Victor.
Oh, yes. Hello, Tiffany. I have, there's An Honest Evil, A Deacon's Journal, and I also have Ornaments Bleed Red. And I also have, those are the ones that are out there now. And the one coming out will be a prequel to An Honest Evil, which is called, or named, Blood of the Mortar. So it's an Honest Evil prequel. And so, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no. And I must admit, after our conversation about these books last time, there's a lot of how do I put this? There's a lot of you in those books.
There is a lot of that was inspired by the way my take on it was. A lot of it was myself. It was therapeutic for me to write that book in fiction rather than putting myself as putting it out there as a memoir. So, and that's what a lot of people were expecting or wanting, was the detailed from the episodes and from what happened to me years ago. And I decided, since writing has always been something I'd love, a lot of especially An Honest Evil was inspired by actual things that happened in my life. And the take on it was, my hope anyway, when those that do read it, is from them to see it from a psychological point of view. For instance, there are some scenes in the book that will share about a shadow or a funnel, or something like that, or things of that nature that we would call paranormal or whatever. But we know that, just as, and I'm going to be brave enough to compare it to when you see the Exorcist film and you see Regan McNeil, her head turning 360 degrees around, that can't possibly happen to the human body. So we're seeing from the eyes of those watching this possession take place, mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the approach that I took. Was I wanted them to see through the protagonist's eyes what he was seeing and visualizing during these times. Mm-hmm. And so that's what my hope was. And the message, of course, that comes across at the end on that one. And now An Ornaments Bleed Red is also a really good novella. And that deals with a lot of the powwow magic from Pennsylvania area. Mm-hmm. And powwow magic is rarely talked about at the time that I was reading and researching. I couldn't find anything about it, and I'd heard about it. And it's not the powwow used from Native American Indians. It's powwow magic used, folk remedies used up in by the Dutch. Mm-hmm. When they came over, and Pennsylvania area. And it's so fascinating and so interesting, and I had to write about it, of course, in the guise of fiction. And so, yeah, there is a lot of me in those books. There's especially the first one, especially An Honest Evil.
I must admit, I've got a copy of your first book, and I couldn't put it down when I started reading. It was so enthralling, and it just like the way you write. Everybody that writes in their own different way, but the way you write, and you're talking about certain things, and you have that way of enlightening the scene by the way you explain things.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and that's what I love about that. I love hearing. I've had some people come up and say, like, "Wow, I was in the scene with your protagonist, the man," or I've experienced this and I experienced that, and they're very similar. And so it inspires me, to hear that. And thank you.
No. Credit where credit's due, Victor. It's a very, very interesting, and it's a very, very well written book. And I would recommend that. We'll post the links for all of Victor's books. We'll post it in the chat room, and we'll also post it on social going forward. So I would honestly, if there is a book you're looking to read, if you've got a long drive, you're a long flight, definitely go out and buy those books. Just want to quickly shout out to a few people in the chat room. We've got another an amazing friend of ours, Chris Sutton from the good old USA as well. We have obviously Tiffany, who's another person from America. We also have the Spooky Sisters from the UK. Great couple of girls. Come to Sage Paracon, and they're really, 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 really good. And who else we got in here? Got so many people. We've got Matt Osborne that's watching. We got Luke, Ashlyn, and obviously another friend of ours. It seems to be our friends from America that have coming in to watch tonight. We've got Cece from Las Vegas, which is another city which I am particularly drawn to. I don't know what it is. New Orleans and Las Vegas. I do like Reno as well. There's a common link somewhere there. I have no idea what that common link is, but we'll leave it to you guys' imagination. We've got Heather coming in as well. I'm an American investigator watching from New York, NW of England, Northwest. Oh, that's cool. So hi everybody. If you've got any questions, obviously just post them. And if you've got questions for Victor and Lynda, or you've got questions for myself, and obviously Sam's, as you can see in the office, she's not fallen asleep just yet. She's in the office making me look good, and obviously Victor and Lynda look good as well. She's pushing the buttons, and I'm just waffling. So,
yes.
The thing, though, obviously we discussed quite a lot about it, is the types of investigations and what type of investigations or research you guys do, and what you want to now get out of the path that we're all on. I know last time we spoke, you were saying about some of your experiences and you wanted to go slightly a different way. Has anything else happened, or was lockdown sort of kind of put a kibosh on that?
The lockdown did put a little rain cloud over a lot of things we were scheduled to do, but that's okay. It's okay. It's okay because we have technology such as this, but there were some places we were to go investigate, as well as participate in the Gettysburg, and there's several others, as well as book stuff that we had to put in the back burner for now. And but yeah, we kind of went off the beaten path of what we were doing and kind of had to regroup. And the lockdown actually has been really exciting in terms of I've been able to actually, as a developing medium, if this is what people would call it, I've been able to sit under my mentor and actually do a lot of the exercises that I've been taught. That's according to curanderismo and things of that nature. And also kind of look at things from a different point of view, because with our background, it's super interesting. We're ordained deacons of the church, and we have that POV to look from. We have our childhood POV to look from. Then I have curanderismo to look from. So there were so many factors that play a role that needed to intricately come together to become what path we're on now in terms of investigating and how we investigate and what has happening, and all that sort of deal. And I think I find that pretty cool, with the whole hunkering down thing. So, but it's been a go. It's been a go, and like I said, it's interesting. It really is.
It's allowed us to do a lot of brainstorming too.
A lot of brainstorming, a lot of research, lots and lots of research.
You've got me for a brief few minutes because Carl's gone poof.
I know. I was like, where did it go?
I'm like, Carl.
And I was like, keep talking.
Yeah.
He'll come back. But good. And hello to everyone in the chat room too. We definitely want to acknowledge you guys as well.
Also, we have a lot of
we appreciate
folks
you guys
in the seance room. We're doing a watch party, so everyone's watching the show as well. So hello, everyone.
So while we wait for Carl to come back, Heather has asked in the chat room, what are your thoughts on the Estes method?
On the what?
Estes.
Yes.
Oh, the
It's EST. It's spelled ESTES.
The Estes.
Is that an equipment? I mean,
I'm sure she'll put in the. If you can put in the chat room for us, ever. Carl might know what it means.
There he is.
Carl!
He just went. He just randomly appears out of the middle,
What happened there? I'm listening to what you're talking to, and then all of a sudden, I had a dip in the power in this room, and everything just went off.
Oh my god!
It happens.
I mean,
I think you traveled somewhere and you just came back. Traveling, and I think it's you, Carl.
I do apologise about that. I don't know. I don't know what where we were when what you were talking about.
I was just saying that. Heather asked what their views were on the Estes method, and Lynda was asking what Estes is.
That's the sensory deprivation experiment with the spirit box.
Yes.
Where you all you can hear is a spirit box and you're blindfolded, and somebody asks questions, and then you repeat what you're hearing through the spirit box. So you can't actually hear what the questions are, and then you just repeat what you're hearing from what comes through.
We actually way earlier when we were investigating, we were actually they had us experiment with that. And
it was a different technique, though.
It's about the same.
But we didn't use the
spirit box. It was the Gonsfield effect, and with the whole white noise, the glasses, and the red lights. And
the first one was the psychomanthium.
And then the psychomanthium, which also was another form of sensory deprivation. And so the Estes is it's kind of a combination of all that, since Carl brilliantly explained. And what do I think about it was the question. Let's see. I think it's interesting. I think having done similar experimentations with that, we've received really great results in terms of EVP. Also, if you've had or someone's had a medium or someone, a channeler or a conduit, come in and sit down during that time with all the precautions, first of all, and do it. You get some really fascinating results. You really, really do. What we've learned, I'll let explain her side, is that I also feel it depends on the location and where you're at and the different results that you get, because we've done it and it's been flatlined in some areas. And you also take into consideration the environment around you, that deals with the frequencies and all of that. But I mean, those are my thoughts, and it's interesting. I'd love to know what people's outcome are of these things. Those that are doing this, of course, precautionary. That's just my thing. Take precaution. Know what you're doing. That's what I have to say about that. But yeah, sensory deprivation is a very interesting subject.
Yeah, I mean, and using a ghost box and being blindfold, I mean, I think that can help you really pay attention to the frequencies. It really does help you pay attention to the frequencies. And I've learned just when you're listening to EVPs, it's about the same thing, because of the fact that, and it's a funny story. You know, I'll tell you real quick why. Victor and myself and another investigator were doing some EVPs, and we couldn't quite get what they were saying. My mom was in the kitchen, and she was making herself some coffee, and she out loud, she wasn't sitting by, she was just standing, and she goes, "Oh, it's saying this and this and that," and she said it right with it, and we were like, wow. So we started using that technique, that if we couldn't hear we would sit far off, and we learned that if you're not right there, sometimes you can hear it through a frequency being in another place. So I'm kind of thinking doing it that, doing a voice box and doing it that way helps you concentrate on the frequency of what your ears are going to hear, and not to focus with your eyes. Because I think when you're doing EVPs or you're doing investigations, sometimes your mind is working so hard. For some folks, they want to, especially your first time around, you want to see something or you want to get something. And sometimes you're so concentrated that you miss out on what's really going on around you and around that environment. So I think it can work both ways, but I think you have to also be careful.
I think it's a good filter, you know, with the blindfold and that sort of thing, because when you think about the Ouija board, you know, when you want to go old school and you think about those that use the Ouija board, the conduit, the person that's there doing the Ouija, they, you know, for more clarity, they would blindfold them so that way they're not looking at the letters or spelling, you know, and that sort of thing, or projecting their own thoughts onto the spirit board. And so, I mean, that kind of, that Estes, as you say, is very interesting. It's a combination of a lot of that. So, but I think you'd get good results because you would differentiate between what is and what is not.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you're completely right. It's if you take away certain senses, your other senses are then peaked. So if you are trying to listen out, as you say, frequency changes and sounds coming through, if you take away the sight and everything like that, that hearing senses is going to be peaked. So you're going to be able to pick up on more stuff. But like you say, there's precautions you need to take place. Because recently there's a lot of people seem to be talking about using the God helmet. I don't know whether you've seen that. I can understand it. I can understand why people want to use it, but I don't want to be seeing it being used on public investigations or this, that, and the other, because there isn't any safety precautions behind it, because it's quite a scientific way of using it and stimulating the senses. I can't see it being used on public events, to be truthfully honest, safely, because if you're part of that team running the event, you are looking after the team, and you're looking after the guests, and you're not really concentrating on what the results coming through, etc. So yeah, what are your views on say the Ghost God helmet?
They're pretty much, I'm in agreement with that. The precautionary, you know, we and coming into the whole investigating aspect, when you start using these various equipment, you know, and tools to help validate a haunting or a ghost or whatever, of course we know measures are key. They're number one, you know, and with that as well as with the other stuff, it is scary, you know. It can be very scary because not everybody's prepared for something of that
of that nature, and
that
not only that,
of that experiment, because I mean, you're literally putting that individual into and another case of sensory deprivation.
Yeah, and I think you have to be with any types of equipment. I think you have to be prepared. I don't think you can just go in it. I think the person that is over it knows how it works, and I think you should always have a skilled person over whoever's working on that. But I don't think just anybody should use the helmet and be, because you don't have time to ask everybody, especially like in a function, like you were saying, you don't have time to ask everybody what is their mental health or their physical health. You don't know the effect that can cause, because there are some things that I know, like for the EMF pump,
that was terrible.
That is really great at the time to charge the energy around. However, we have found out that a lot of folks think, and I mean, it's not linked, but some folks think that it could cause cancer because of what is affecting the body. So there's a lot of things we have to be careful with what we're doing and try to.
And I like what you said, Carl, about, having it demonstrated, not in public.
Exactly.
In that way. If you're going to do it, be around with, again, it's going to happen. But if you display that on public, you're definitely going to get those, as we all would be, curious to go and, oh, I can do that too, and just grab it and do it. And, there was an incident that happened during an investigation, and it was another case of sensory deprivation. And it was of a middle-aged man, and he was not mentally well or stable to be in the situation that he caught himself in. And we were very much opposed to having this this gentleman experience the psychomantium. And we had no say other than to give our opinions on it, because it's not our place. It's not, it wasn't our function. It wasn't. But this person went into the psychomantium, and all of a sudden, he started bleeding from the nose. Blood started coming out of his nose, and he started speaking gibberish. And then all of a sudden, he began to actually confirm and validate the location's history in pieces, So what's at work there? What's at play there? You have to question, And first of all, and he was ill, when he came out more, and that's why with the whole helmet and the guns, a lot of those things, we have to be very careful and cautious, not to be so eager to display them in public. A lot of people, it's not the popular opinion to say that, but yeah. And I always think back on, and I think that's where it comes from. You think we've seen so much during investigating and with people and from all walks of life, and how they react to using these methods. I, for one, was a part of those experiments, and it didn't end very well with me, years ago. I'm well now. So that's my take on that,
Yeah. Just to let, because a couple of people have asked in the chat room when we're talking about the God helmet, just to give you a basic overview. The God helmet is a device which you put on, as the name is, says helmet, and it stimulates certain places, and there's sensors in the helmet, which you can then play around, which then stimulates certain parts of the brain. And the idea of that is to get into some sort of different mindset to see whether you can actually pick up on things. That's a layman's terms. That's just a quick explanation. just to say, if you do want to know a bit more, probably the best is to go and actually research it. And if you want to see one actually in being used extremely well in a very controlled manner, watch Hellier 2. I think it's probably about third or fourth episode in, maybe a bit later in the series. Hellier 2, where Dana and Greg use, and some of the interesting responses that they're getting, because it's kind of like the estimate. It's like the whole of the deprivation put into one thing, and getting your brain stimulated by these pulses.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just a quick explanation. But if you want to go, there's loads of stuff to research. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Tiffany. And that's great. Just see if what else we've got. Tiffany, how is the pandemic affecting your investigations? I know that's a very short answer from me over here. It is, because we can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah, I was supposed to, unfortunately, do a walkthrough, and it didn't take place. And it was going to be an interesting walkthrough. It was between me and another medium, and we were going to be taken to this location separately. And I don't know this person, and there was going to be a whole article thing and investigate. But when all this stuff happens, I mean, you can't do nothing, so you just stay at home.
We had a few things lined up that.
So no investigating.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, we actually had a few things that just popped up randomly, close to a few weeks before everything happened. So next thing you know, everything got canceled, because everything that was supposed to take place in mid-April and May, and by then that's when all the traveling and everything had to stop. So yeah,
I think the cool part though of it is that you finally actually you're at home, you're on lockdown. It's a good time to kind of go through all your files that you haven't gone through, kind of organize, kind of go back on some case investigations that you probably haven't, revisit all of that and kind of put it together and connect the dots to some things. I think it's a great time for that, Yeah, kind of go back and listen and see the growth and all that, or something else might come.
I completely agree. It's a time I've sort of been in self-isolation, because going back to New Orleans, in February, we were leaving then when it was starting to kick off in New Orleans with the whole COVID-19. So when I got back from the UK, I went, right, okay, I need to be obviously very, very careful with what's going on. Yeah. So because there was cases, because obviously I went to Mardi Gras and I was in the middle of all the crowds, etc. Yeah, and you just got to be careful. So I've kind of been in these four walls since the end of February. So it's a miracle I've not grown a big bushy beard and turned into some sort of mad scientist, and I'm shaved, I'm clothed, I'm not sitting there rocking from side to side doing some sort of weirdness, but because that's potentially what this lockdown could do to you. And
it could keep you busy, and I think
do something. Don't let yourself go.
Yeah, I think with all of us, what we're doing is we're taking the time to look at certain articles, teach ourselves more about more research. Victor and I love to collect the older vintage books about the paranormal world. So we're always looking for those and reading them. And so, I mean, there's just so much. And then, of course, keeping in contact with friends. Now it's like you use the video to talk to everyone with friends and all, just to be able to talk and learn more through each other.
I miss, of course, definitely. I'm sure we all do. Mm-hmm. We all miss the contact, getting together with friends and going into the place you're going to investigate, and we had investigated a few places while our stay in New Orleans, a couple of months, and then we were supposed to go back actually to Mardi Gras.
We were supposed to be there when y'all were there without even us knowing, but we were supposed to be there
because we had did some filming and at several places and stuff, in which we're backed up with video. So yeah, I mean, like you said, we're not, we're trying to maintain over here. Now my hair's like grown, like I think my hair's like about right here. So I just kind of put it on. Otherwise it'd be everywhere. At the top. But we've been lucky.
That's one reason everybody because people like when they do the lives and on investigations, I've always got a hat on, and people get confused when they see me without the hat on because they went, "Oh, you do actually have hair?" I went, "Yeah, it's just a thing I do. I just always have a hat on when I'm doing stuff." Just want to do a couple of shout outs. What's going on in the chat room? Good friend of mine, Louise, down in Cornwall. Yo Carlo. I will be coming to see you hopefully next week or the week after. I'll give you a shout. Tiffany says, yes, I've been going through and found some EVP files from Bali Seance. Pandemic is good time to review. Exactly. You're getting stuff too. All those side projects, all those things that you've put off. This is the perfect part. Perfect time to do it. I have to ask, and it's been bugging me for the last hour and a bit. Can you explain the little chap behind you guys, behind the candles? Because it looks lovely, but it's I'm trying to work out whether it's a mummy with a mummy's face with a hat.
You're correct.
And
you're correct. It's actually our mummy, and this beauty here. Let's see if I can bring it a close up. That way you can see the detail.
Our person that always connects us is on the chat listening.
This is let me see. Can y'all see that? Let me bring it a little closer. Let's see, kind of see the detail of it. Wait till you see this side. Now, those, we don't know if that's human or not, so we'll just leave it at that. But I'm just kidding. Don't get scared, guys. But yes, this is a lovely mummy made from the film, The Mummy. It was used as a mummy prop. And a good friend of ours who owns an oddity shop, this is where we got it from. And he's become our favorite vocal piece in the room. Mm-hmm. And look, he's astonishingly well made. All the detail and stuff, and just again the teeth, everything. But that's our little friend. He's there. So can you imagine waking up and just seeing this staring at you at night? So
yeah. I don't think I would like to wake up after a blurry night and open my eyes to see that looking at me.
And it's funny when we got him. I thought I'd be like uncomfortable, but no, I love having him in our lovely section.
He's really cool. He's right above some friends of ours. Also, there's two pictures
that had an oddity.
They're actual photos from the Vatican, I believe.
Catacombs.
The catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
That were taken in, I believe,
those were in the
1800s.
Yeah.
And so they gave us the pictures and stuff like that.
We're antique.
So that's our little friend. We actually don't have a name. We just call him Mum. It's like, hello, Mum.
A good name for it. I think our next show, when we catch up, will be a tour of your house, because I believe, as we were talking off air before we started, you've got a lot of these kind of weird, strange, amazing oddities and knickknacks, as we call them over in the UK.
Yes. A lot of them have been given to us by people we've met or people that just don't want them anymore. Little things, little trinkets, knickknacks, as you say. Some are knickknacks, some are really unique. But yeah, we'll definitely have to do a tour. I think my favorite piece in just our room is a necromancer mask used in Papua New Guinea, and it was actually used by the tribe. And so that was gifted to us by two lovely ladies that were traveling, and they were like, "Here, we thought you might like this." I'm like, "Oh, okay, where has that been?" And so they gave us the history of it, and so it's encased. We don't use these things. We don't, do that sort of deal.
We're just collectors of the oddities.
And they inspire the writing as well. So a lot of the stuff around here inspires my writing. So that's usually what it's for.
I love. I've got a friend in the UK, my good friend, and Sam's friend MJ. She has the same sort of thing. Suddenly, people will just turn up on her doorstep and go, "I've kind of been given this thing. Weird stuff happening. There you go. Bye."
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a doll that
has human hair.
It's from the 1800s, and it's made with the wigs have it's human hair, and the person didn't want it. They didn't want to have anything to do with it.
I think they think because, well, with what we do, with the whole paranormal and stuff, I guess they feel that, oh, here, you take care of this. It's like, okay.
Touch wood, and I'm touching everything possibly wood. Nobody's ever offered me any weird stuff. Equipment wise, like paranormal equipment, yeah, I've got literally a house full.
Yeah.
But no, not any haunted objects, and don't take this anybody listening to start sending me stuff. I don't want that. I don't need that in my house. It's bad enough with what I have got in my house. I don't need anything that. But this, it's the strange thing about this is why we love chatting to you guys is we get to see. Now we can actually see you guys. We get to see more in depth into you guys because yes, we're very good friends and we have a good laugh, etc. And we hope to meet up at some point.
Yes.
But you get to see if we hadn't been doing it, you wouldn't be able to see the mummy and mummy or mum, whatever you want. But it's great. We're coming up to nearly an hour. We've got about 10 more minutes to go. Obviously, with lockdown, and obviously, hopefully, this pandemic will become a view in the rear view car mirror soon, and we can start to come back to some sort of normality.
Yes.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, I presume you, like myself, you've postponed events that you were meant to be doing until next year. Yeah. Just so we can just give us an idea what you guys are doing next year, or early part of next year, and how people can get in touch if they need to get in touch with you guys or want to know more stuff about your items or your books, etc.
Oh yeah, sure. Definitely. Well, like as you said, I'm hoping to. Well, the book tour that I was going to do has been postponed till hopefully then. Hopefully we'll, like you said, everything's behind us, and I'll be doing a few book tours, a few signings. I plan to do one in my hometown. I didn't get to do one for An Honest Evil, so it's going to be pretty interesting now that the word has been out, about Honest Evil back in Texas. Everybody's, wanted me to go there first. They're like, hey, you belong to us. Come down, that sort of thing. One in New Orleans and so forth and on. And also the release of the prequel, Blood of the Martyr, will be coming out. You can find all that information on my website, www.victorsalazar.com. And we also have...
we're also now focusing on our podcast, and that is the Seance Room. And that's going to be, that has evolved into being something more. And we have some really great co-hosts with us, and we plan to bring more folks on the show to talk about anything and everything in the paranormal world. And as far as we had an event that we were supposed to go last week, but it didn't get to go through. So hopefully next year we'll be able to go.
You'll see us at more events next year. You'll see a lot more next year. and definitely be looking out
Excuse
for
me.
that. And there was one more thing, but I forgot. I lost my train of thought. I think I just named him. This is Miriam.
Oh my!
Perfect name. It begins with an M.
There you go, Miriam Adolista. I love her. I love her. I love her. But no. So yeah, just kind of doing that, and we shot a lot of footage from our past recent investigations, and we're hoping to get those out by the end of the beginning of next year, because we'll see how that goes.
And we're still working on. I know last time we talked, we were hoping we could announce our projects that we were doing, and a few of those got postponed. But the one project, it was of course the seance room now going on its own, and it's like I said, it just evolved, and we it's like that family fun friend environment, and that's how we want it.
There's some pretty cool characters. You have Alan Gilbrath, who's kind of the skeptic of the show. He comes on, and he kind of every so often he'll be visiting and stopping by and talking about paranormal. His POV as a skeptic. And we also have, of course, the face of New Orleans. We have Miss Cleela Smith, our honorary guest, and then we have Mama C, aka Norma Cantu. And so, yeah, it's going to be a pretty
and we have
cool. And we have a new journalistic paranormal guy, Gilbert Lopez, and it's going to be really cool. And I hope they get to start doing the on ground locations as we had planned for the show. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of that at the beginning of the year. So let's all cross our fingers, because I know everybody has stuff burning on the on the pilots,
and we're hoping to make a trip to the UK.
And the UK trip was actually put back as well.
Yeah,
we were supposed to go, so that was pushed back. So,
but it only has us making more plans and being ready for that. I think that was
the most disappointing for me.
And one of the best things about postponing the trip that you were going to be making, you're going to be now making it in summer. So hopefully we'll have the nicer weather. You can't tell that with the UK, because it could be raining 1 second and 36 degrees in the next and all this sort of stuff. It's that. But I honestly do hope that you can make it over, because we will have a blast.
Oh yeah.
It's always a pleasure, and we will post the links to the seance room. Myself and Sam have been on that a few times, and it is always good fun. It's a good podcast to go and listen to. So anybody that's looking for a paranormal podcast to go and look at, that is got a bit of a quirk to it, a little bit of a twist to the normal paranormal podcast, go and give the seance room a listen, because it's worth it. That's the hour. It flies by so quick. Yes, we've had a bit of a weirdness where it disappeared and popped up again. But guys, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and I always do, it's always a pleasure to chat to you two. It's an amazing connection that you have with myself and Sam, and it's brilliant to chat to you. So thank you very much for coming on.
Our pleasure. Thank you to all your
pleasure.
listeners. Thank you, Sam. Thank you,
Carl.
Yeah.
Getting there.
Yeah.
I was getting there. Carl disappeared. And everyone miss it. It's a great time always. See you fun.
Sam's the one that actually does all the work in the studio. I just turn up and waffle for an hour or whatever it is. She's the brains. I'm just the mouthpiece. Thanks for everybody that's been in the chat room.
Yes.
Thank you all, guys. It's been really good. Thank you for contributing to the show. Like I said, guys, pleasure. Can't wait. We will definitely get you back on. And if you ever need some UK people in the sound room again, we're there, hands down. I know it's a late night for us, but we always have a good night.
Yeah, that's you will be back. That's a given right there.
It is. We'll post all the links all over on our socials and everything. That's it for this Thursday. We're just running up to just over an hour. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. We will be back next week. I don't know whether we'll be doing Facebook. I haven't got a clue. I'll get told at some point, Hey, I just go with the flow. I'm going to pass you over to young Samantha to end the show. Thank you very much, and we will see you. We will see you next week. Sam, over to you.
Thank you everybody for watching. If you're new to this Facebook page, or if you're watching obviously through the Seance Room, feel free to like PSH Radio, as well as join our group PSH Radio, and anybody of our listeners who are watching, please feel free to check out the Seance Room. And it's a good evening from me, guys.